Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Public Opinion Court with our collaboration with Real Life Street Stars, where we are breaking down every day the Freaky Rico trial of the century. And today was not a easy day for the defense, in my opinion. But we're gonna get on down into that. But if you are new here and you haven't tuned in prior to today, my name is Attorney Thelma Anderson. I practice primarily business transactional. Well, not really practice. I do more consulting than anything. I'm a former prosecutor and municipal court judge, but I believe in justice and fairness, so I can side with whoever I want to based on the law. And with that, I have a new co-host tonight. Adria will be joining us, but I want him to introduce himself to you all, let you all know where he's from, what area of law he practices, and how y'all can engage with him.
Absolutely. What's up, everybody? My name is Attorney Demetrius McLeod. I am licensed practicing in Chicago. I'm originally from Detroit. I am a Hustle Howard graduate, so I'm all about social justice. I primarily practice civil litigation, formal big law. I practiced most of my years in the big law. I now have my own firm, the McLeod Firm. Feel free to check us out at thelegalsniper.com. If you need anything from entertainment, business, contract, formation, review, we do all the things, but primarily personal injury. So if anything is needed, feel free to shout. We are here to help and happy to do so. But yeah, we're ready to get into it. It's a lot happening in the world.
Yes,
When it comes down to this has been a lot to take in. So
absolutely. And before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are just joining, this is a collaboration between the Public Opinion Court and Real Life Street Stars. So make sure you are liking, subscribing, and following the page as we continue to bring you the daily breakdown of the Freaky Rico. Like I said, the trial of the century. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get straight on into the hot topics. Now, I want to talk about two particular hot topics that are just, one is brand new, the other one ain't brand new. So we're going to get straight into the On the Run, because I want to talk about the On the Run boys. Because on the run, straight out of New Orleans. So if you all have been following, there has been a previous escape of several inmates from a Louisiana prison in New Orleans. And I'm not talking about some petty criminals who have been convicted of low-level crimes. I'm talking about really, some of them are really violent inmates. And how they escaped, I do not know, but the way they got out of that prison that is highly secured, I was like, America, it's already ghetto this year. And what you mean to tell me now we gotta make sure the doors are double locked because y'all not even housing and making sure these people don't escape? What's really going on? Like this is, I'm like, okay, now I got to sleep with both eyes open. I really want to sleep with both of my eyes open, but the way this world is, I can't even do that. Yeah. So give me your take on how does this happen?
I was impressed. I'll be honest. If you see the way they out, it's like a small, tiny hole. It's like, I think they got out behind like a sink in the kitchen, where they fit through like a gate, like literally like a small gate. Like clearly they're not eating enough, because I don't even know if I can fit. I'm pretty thin, but literally I was impressed to see not only them through, but what 10 people fit through this small area behind a sink in the kitchen to get out and not be found for 8 hours, or not even know that they were missing for a whole 8 hours. clearly we need to step it up. These privatized prisons aren't they're not doing a good job.
So, word on the curb is the prison guard, they had some help. And
Mm,
I'm a little skeptical about Louisiana and how they automatically convict before they investigate. So basically, what they say is the guard let them out, and the guard is like, "No, they was threatening my life. So you, what you expect me to do? You want me to get killed by these violent criminals? Some of them are probably lifers, and you
crazy.
telling me to hold it down? No, I'm not holding it down, not by myself. And y'all shouldn't have left me alone to where this could happen. And y'all over there overweight, and y'all not gonna make it to." They done took my life because y'all over there chubsters can't even run down the hallway, and I'm the thinnest one in the bunch. So
They said, get
no,
somebody else to do it.
get somebody else to do it or pray, because they weren't finna take me. I got a family. I can find another job, but I can't find another life. Period.
Yeah, yeah. I honestly, my hats off to anybody that does anything criminal related, from us as lawyers to the prison guards to even the judges that have to sit on prison cases. Like, I think that you don't know who you're messing with, and a lot of these people they were serving life. So I mean, they probably took their chances, and I mean, I'd say even the ones who weren't serving life, they probably should expect to if they get captured. So yeah, it's one of those, flip a coin. We're gonna take our chances, and I was definitely impressed to see so many of them. It definitely gives, somebody had to help on the inside. It had to be something.
So it definitely had to be someone. And here's the thing, I don't think they was very bright,
Mm,
because New Orleans has, I think, one of the cities that have the most cameras. One of, I know Atlanta has the most, but New Orleans is heavily patrolled and monitored by cameras. Like, you can't get nowhere in New Orleans without a camera having access to where you are. So they didn't got out. We got one that got caught by sleeping on the doggone bus stop. Like, you falling
yeah, all
asleep.
the time.
You didn't got. He was. I'm like, sir, you could have stayed in there. You could have stayed in there, sir. You wanted to go.
If,
You wanted to nap. You could have
if
stayed
it
in
was
there.
me, if it was me, you had the opportunity to, even in a surveillance state, you would find me in the down Louisiana swamps. You would have me in the backwoods. You would not have heard of a camera near where I could be if I was able to have that opportunity to escape from them. Never.
Listen, I'm going. I'm probably going to have a sleepover with the alligators. If I'm going to say I'm going to have a sleepover with the alligators, I'm not going to have a sleepover on the bus in a broad daylight, and they gonna come and get me. I did all that work. I done squeezed my body through them little tunnels, and you think I'm gonna come back in that easy? Oh no, you're gonna have to catch me.
Crazy.
You gonna have to use all your resources.
Catch me if you can.
And from the looks of it, I was able to pull a little list. It's supposed to be updated, but who knows? Ain't nothing been updated in this country since we got a new leader. He too busy worrying about other things. But allegedly, they still got 5 on the loose. The last I checked, I think they got 2 more. So
Mm.
allegedly, it's only 3. But the word on the curb is the ones that are still free are Geminis, and the Geminis said they don't get caught. So catch me if you can, because they say they ride it done for Geminis, and they just the smartest ones out of the bunch, and they ain't gonna get caught.
That is funny. Today is the first day of Gemini season, by the way. For y'all.
Exactly.
So,
the
it's a time around when this
Gemini, the Gemini said, we not one of them. You ain't gonna catch us. And let
crazy.
me see. I wish I would have pulled up the other one's birthday so I could have had a better kiki, because I thought that was funny. But Let me give y'all this word. Like, if you ever happen to get in a situation where you got to go behind them bars, do not try to escape, because that's going to add even more time to your sentence. And I know some of these are lifers, so it really don't matter. But do not, under no circumstances, squeeze your little ass through that tunnel and then have the audacity to get caught. Just stay your ass in there. Don't do it. Don't do
At
it.
least don't fall asleep on the bus.
Yeah,
Like,
the
just
bus stop.
about that. Try if get caught crossing the border. Try to come over to Mexico. Go over to Canada. Get caught there, not on the bus. Crazy.
Someone said, Sassy Cassie said, so many of them have last names that could be first name. Listen, Sassy Cassie, one of the future co-hosts, he got that problem. So when he come on here, I don't know when, because he stay in trial. When he come on here, you gonna recognize it right away, and you gonna laugh. And I want you to have this same comment so I can put it up there so he can
Actually,
know that. Huh?
I'm screenshotting it right now.
Yeah, like I'm gonna need that comment to come back, Sassy Cassie. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to go straight into what happened today. So, if you are just here for the recap, baby, you about to get the recap, because the government was able to put on 3 important witnesses. 3. Now, yesterday, we know that they ended with the special agent, but baby, they gave us even more today. They gave us even more. And what they gave us, the defense, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, y'all. I don't know. That's why I said this is a slow cooker case. Like, just like you put your red beans in a slow cooker and you let them things cook, or like your oxtails, you let them things slow cook. This is exactly how the freaky RICO trial is going to be, as a slow cooker. So they had the special agent finishing up. Then they went into this clinical psychologist that specializes in victims and learning how to diagnose victims and testifying on victims' behalf, with how they enter into trauma relationships, and it's hard for them to leave. So she was a really compelling witness for the government. And the star of today, as if the government wasn't putting on stars today, was George Kaplan. Baby, George Kaplan is the one that knows where the bodies are buried. And when I tell you he was unpacking them bodies, them skeletons was in that courtroom, and them spirits was not pleased. Was not pleased. And hold on, we got rubber duckies and nitro. LOL. Diddy. Hold on, let me bring this up. We got rubber duckies and nitro. Diddy is the gift that keeps on giving, or the demon that keeps on giving. Ooh, he is a demon child. So
Won't stop.
can't stop. Take that, Mister. Take that was out in full force today. So I'm going to bring up the testimony of the special agent, because he had, hold on, let me add this to stage. The special agent had to, in my opinion, hold on, let me fix that. In my opinion, he proved, or he added to the element of the continuation of an enterprise. So we have, for the past 7 days, we have been basically focusing on the timeline from when Cassie and Diddy started their friendship relationship. And we haven't went further than that. Well, the special agent went further today, as recent as 2024. So that's going to be very important because in March of 2024, if you all remember, they had the raid in Miami and on his Star Island property. Just a random. It was out of nowhere. Nobody, even myself, expected it. But that's the thing about the government. They know their business and your business, and you don't know their business. And that's just how it is gonna be to this backwards. So they picked the date specifically because they knew he was about to go out of the country with his daughters. So they said, you can go out the we got to get you now. So they wanted to do it strategically so that he could not prepare. When they got him, we also know who else was with him. The little pale white drug supplier. Why else would he be with Diddy? So when they went to the house, baby, you would think since you got into a whole tussle with that settlement and they identify all these pieces of illegal evidence, you ain't gonna take from November, December, January, February, 4 months. You got to really clean up shit. And they find 25 bottles of baby oil. They find 31, I guess, bottles of Astroglide or packets of Astroglide. They had 18 pair, not of designer shoes, but 18 pair of exotic dancer shoes. They found liquid meth that they tested, and it came back as liquid meth. Cocaine, traces of cocaine was found on a red straw that was confirmed through testing. Eye drop bottles was filled and came back positive of either ketamine or MDMA. An eye drop bottle. An eye drop. So you trying to get my pupils intoxicated? What is it? You trying to dilate my pupils so I can't see what you're doing to me? That's some freaky shit. That's some freaky shit right there. Then they found a Gucci bag that had drugs in it. He had freaking cell phones hiding in his Balenciaga boot. Pill stamped. I'm not worried about the M on it. That's cool. But pill stamped with Tesla symbols.
You know that's sad.
Some of the drugs that they retrieved from the Gucci bag was, psychedelic type of drugs like mushrooms. They found a .45 pistol. And I'm like, 4 months. 4 months. And this is just the Miami home. Tell me what you think about that.
I'm not surprised, honestly. I think that, we know who we're dealing with. It's been mummers for decades at this point. We know Diddy is Diddy. He's a mogul. He is who he is. He's Diddy. He's bopping. He's going to weave. He's going to do the things. And it's been said for a while that Diddy's been, on this type of time. So, when I see this evidence list and I'll see all the things again, and you make an important point by saying this is just a Miami home, think about the access that he has around the world, let alone the country, in multiple homes. This is one place that turns up. If you've heard of the white parties in Miami, as a weekend into like any other times, this down. And I would expect more, honestly. Like this this is slight work for who we know Diddy to be. So, it's showing the narrative for sure.
It is, and I agree um, that the evidence list, when I saw it, had me looking like,
He said we're going straight for K. No weed, no weed, no. We doing
no weed.
MGM.
Like, listen, no weed. No,
How
not
many
an
are there?
ounce of a seed of a weed or a trace of a gummy.
None,
Nowhere.
none of it.
That's
I,
probably
I,
like a
I was
Flintstone.
like, no, yes, yes.
It's like a Flintstone freaking multivitamin to him.
Mhm.
He been got over. We was probably in his teenage years. He
He
on to
started up.
the stuff that'll take you yonder.
Yo, that's like when you talk about a gateway drug. We been a gateway. It's not it. It's the K. We on the K now. The ketamine. We're going straight from juggler.
Listen,
Crazy.
ain't no party like a Diddy party. Cause a Diddy party, you may not wake up. You may not wake up, or if you do, some part of your body is gonna have a sensation that you didn't have
But you
before
don't
you
recognize
whatever they got. And that's
crazy.
just that. Now let me bring up some of the pieces that were recovered. So I think these are I can't see too good, but I think these are shoes. These are some of the exotic shoes that was in his home. And the reason why this is important, y'all, is because this particular agent is was a part of the human trafficking division. And what makes this very significant is we know that he has the sex trafficking and the transportation, but this division was looking from the human trafficking standpoint because they probably had been trailing him to see something that was very suspicious that warranted them investigating him for human trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if everyone caught that this particular special agent was in the human trafficking division. So that says a lot because if they are it's one like I said, it's one thing for sex trafficking, but when they start looking at you for a human, that's automatic life.
Different level.
And they don't even need a RICO for that one. So keep going through some of this is a close up of some of the exotic shoes. You know, I call them the stripper shoes. This is the lemon peppers where you get your lemon pepper wings from, but apparently you wouldn't get no wings, you was getting some ketamine.
Mm.
Hmm. Let me see. Oh, Clint sacrifice, Diddy sacrifice, Joe Budden. Golly. Oh no, who is now you know you wrong for this. Hold on. Now you
Oh,
know you wrong for having Hunter Biden. Is that really your name? I want to know, is that really your name?
that's
Because
the stage name. That's the stripper talk.
good Lord, because that's a hell of a name to have. And we talking about this and you got these comments. Oh, let me remove this. So this is one of the pieces of evidence. Here is the Balenciaga boots that he was stashing 3 phones, y'all. 3. I want to know what was on the phone. I want to know. I cannot wait for the phone expert that has dumped or attempted to dump that phone to tell us what was on there.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna be something, and I, you know, if you're anything like me, and I'm sure Diddy, knowing if Diddy's in this type of time, he probably was keeping those phones for a reason. And when I tell you the things and the years that you get to back up on these devices and these phones, I'm sure it's plenty on those phones. For
Yeah.
sure. Because I don't throw a phone away. I, I'll tell you, I didn't probably have a phone kept all the way back to the iPhone 2 at this point when they still had a separate iPod.
It's just, I know it's very suspicious to have it in your shoe. Of all places, why are you hiding it in a not an old style Balenciaga? That looked like a very much at least 2 seasons ago Balenciaga.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it makes
I
me
mean,
feel like,
I was gonna say, I feel like he probably knows. He's probably thinking like, where is the least likely place for someone to find it? And I think that that's probably why he probably set them in like the stuff. And it's a big boot. That's like one of those like firefighter like rain boots.
yeah.
Very
That Balenciaga boot, I've only seen two designers make that boot, Balenciaga and Chanel.
mm-hmm.
Those are the only two high-end designers that have that style of boot. And it looked like it'll kick the hell out of you. Like, it ain't no way.
He knew what he needed it for. That was probably one night, one look. He said, "Oh yeah, no, I'm never wearing this again. Let me go ahead and put him here."
Yeah. Sassy Cassie asks, why does one need so many burner phones? I must not be funny enough to even know why you would need one burner, let alone that many. I must not be fun either, Sassy Cassie.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you because yes, you are a celebrity. Yes, you are a billionaire, but it's not, you don't need 3 phones, especially when you have an executive assistant that is supposed to manage your life. And then you hiding the damn phones. That's what bothers me is he's hiding the phones.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, it's honestly probably not even need for mini phones at all, let alone a burner phone. Like I can't even imagine what that lifestyle is. Sure, as a celebrity, you're probably changing your number often. You're
Mm-hmm.
probably needing to circulate maybe 2, 3 phones, but 18, and then you're talking about old phones stuffed in a shoe is just
Yeah,
not common.
it's here's the baby oils, y'all. This is just the Miami home of the baby oils. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Hold on. No. Let me go back to what I know. Because that ain't working. Oh, let me see. Yeah, so this is the baby oils, y'all, that they said was over 25 bottles, but this was the Miami home. Now, I will tell y'all this, and you tell me what you think about this. Do you think those bottles could have been laced with something?
I don't know. That would be next level. If you are lacing baby oil, I mean, I don't know. I got a massage earlier today. They definitely offered a little CBD cream. So I mean, it ain't far fetched if you could put a little bit more into oil. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I want to know. I'm just waiting on the toxicologist, the individuals who, because they have to, now that they have introduced drugs, they have to have somebody, a drug analyst, to come in and confirm the testing of these drugs, the quantities, what effects it has on an individual for certain occasions. Um, and we have someone placed this shop that ain't 1,000 baby oil bottles. And you're correct because this is only the Miami home. Now, if you remember, we didn't even know that they had pulled baby oil from the Miami home because it wasn't such a 25 bottles. Okay. But it was the home in LA that they referenced had the 1,000 bottles of baby oil. So I hope that kind of cleared it up a little bit because we haven't even gotten to the LA home, the LA raid. Just we are just on the tip of things. No pun intended. No pun intended. Here is a $100 bill that was rolled up that the little icicle thing. Hold on. The little icicle, I think that is an indication of a drug.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of his pieces of evidence. He has the Diddy box. The Diddy box was very interesting because they said he created boxes with his name on it.
Mm-hmm.
Diddy, but this ain't the kind of box you want from a Diddy party.
That's not the take home. What you call them? The take home box gift. That ain't the one.
Yeah. Yeah. So they found some things in the Diddy box too. But that was pretty much. Let me go back to his testimony. That this was the most important parts of his testimony. Now, the one thing that I'd like to do is kind of tie it to the elements, kind of let them understand what the prosecution is trying to do with particular witnesses so that they can understand, like, oh, they're trying to, which doesn't mean that the jury buys it. It's just that what their strategy is. So with this particular witness, I felt like, hold on. I felt like on the enterprise part, it was more so to line up the scale of the operation and how they prepared it because of the suspicion and how they coordinated. Now they had, I ain't gonna hold you, that was a lot of agents. They said it was 80 to 90 agents that was scanning the home. And I was like, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess they say that they needed so many agents because it was the only way to safely, and also like effectively enter the home with so much space to cover that they needed so many people to really like get in, make it efficient, and really cover. I mean, think about it, it's a Diddy home, right? Like how massive that could be.
Yeah.
So they're saying like you needed a lot of manpower, a lot of hands. I guess I get it. I mean, 2 agents, let alone 90, is a lot. Like I can only imagine 5 agents coming to my door. I mean, they used a vehicle to get through the gate. Like, just think about how much manpower and force they needed to even, penetrate the home. Like it was just like it was a big force for sure.
I agree. I also what he testified to, because the defense asked him, was like, why did you have to roll up on them knowing that he was going out of the country with his daughters? They said that was the perfect time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't understand, like, Diddy, you don't get the luxury for somebody to plan to come and raid your home so that you can prepare. You have 4 months to prepare. 4 months. And you over there, what I don't know what possessed him to sit over there for 4 months with all that evidence in his home.
Well, I will tell you, he did not view this as evidence. He did not this was a lifestyle. This was normal to him. These were things that just existed in his everyday life. So this wasn't evidence in his mind. He wasn't committing a crime. Say in his mind, this was his life. This is his lifestyle for many years. So when
Yeah.
you talk about him going away for 4 months, like that's easy, slight work. Like I've done that. My home is secure. I live on an estate. Like this is a home that I don't have to worry about people, being in other than the people I give access to, and even they know not to come into my area. So no, he
Yeah.
never knew or thought that like his stuff would be rated the way that it was. So that wasn't even a thought in his mind.
That's crazy. Um, they, I believe the state, with this particular agent, wanted to establish the not only just trafficking in general, but drug trafficking, which is why they highlighted the different types of drugs, the firearm possession, because you know that you, with the type of drugs that you have, you cannot be in possession of unregistered firearms. And we know that his firearms were illegal, and you cannot be in possession with an illegal firearm. So you got illegal drugs and illegal firearms together.
Yeah. And I want to make this clear for people who in the back, it may not make sense. Sure, you got the Constitution, you can definitely bear arms, you can have guns in your house. But we're talking about assault rifles, right? Not
Mhm.
only are we talking about assault rifles, AR-15s, but we're talking about AR-15s with scratched serial numbers. Now, I'm gonna tell you, any gun dealer, any person who has illegal guns or guns with bodies on it or clean guns, whatever it is, a scratched off serial number is the first indicator that this is something that can't be traced, right? Like this
Yeah.
is a gun that is literally like if this gun has a body on it, it's not registered for the government or whomever is overseeing it to know that this gun was tied to murder in a serial number type of way. So I mean, it's a huge thing. It's definitely a way where it's like think about Ti, right? Think about how Ti got in his like gun case back in the day. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot, right? Illegal guns, but like you talking scratch serial numbers, that's not normal, right? I can have a gun all day in my home, but I guarantee you it's registered.
And you know what's crazy? And I'm glad Sassy Cassie brought this up, because I was literally looking at Jean's interview where they talked specifically about this particular incident and how Shine went to the judge on multiple occasions to let them know that his lawyers were throwing the case, because these are lawyers that Diddy had paid for him. They were under Diddy's pocket. And that man sat in that courtroom knowing that Shine was innocent and did that to him, and then had the audacity to take his little thin ass out there and do a whole press conference talking about some thank you, New York.
Yeah.
Thank you to everybody. And you turned your back on Shine, and then Shine gets out in 2009. They meet up in 2012, and you only offer him 50 fucking $1,000.
That's when he knew he was
50,000.
yeah. Yeah.
Shine said he was trying to spit in his face. This was not when they met up and he had got delivered, but Shine said he was trying to spit in his face during that during the whole ordeal with the trial and things like that, because of how he turned on him. And they asked Shine, and Shine said, "I'm not ratting on anybody. I'm not a rat."
I would
And still,
say I love where Shine is right now, and just like his life and just like his career as it relates to being a complete 180, right? But for him to for anybody to take the fall for someone,
yeah,
I will say that was such a pivotal moment of Diddy knowing that like people are willing to lay down for what he brought, what he stood for, who he was, right? And I mean, again, we have to keep it in mind. He's a mogul, right? We're talking about someone who is literally just captivating, charming, like someone who's easily able to make you feel like, oh my, I'm just glad to be in his presence.
Yeah.
Like that's, if you've ever been in the space and presence of a mogul type of figure, like you really do. If you're in that web, that orbit, right? Like that was the first moment, I'd say, maybe even more before then, but like that was the moment where he really felt like I can get away with murder,
Yeah.
where it's I can have someone lay their life, because I mean, if I spend a day in prison, I feel like my life is over. So someone who spent years, that's when he knew I could take this life.
Listen, I had,
He did that.
this is just a little off topic. I had, when I was a municipal court judge, I had this guy come in, and it was only for traffic tickets. Like he had a warrant out. I looked up the price of that traffic ticket. It was like 200 and some dollars. He was a black man. I told him, I said, come to this mirror. I said, you had the audacity to not pay that damn ticket and look at you in a place where you don't freaking belong. I said, you up here embarrassing your mama. Cause I know your mama taught you better than he was, and he was a man that I could tell was well put together. He was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I know, like, I don't know how. I said, you got the audacity to bring your butt up in here. I said, if you don't get up out of here, he said, I ain't gonna come back. I said, you bet not. So I'm just like, you
Let him
want,
pay the price. I don't pay
yeah,
the I
I'm
don't
like, get your butt up out of here. You do not belong up in here. Shoot. But yeah, that that whole Shine situation, that's why I don't have no respect for J Lo either. I don't, because you both of you knew.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Both of you. The audacity, that's why she can't keep a man. She
Yo.
didn't she didn't went through what? Three wealthy men, and being athletic. This man is in the first time ever in his life sober, and he can't even be with you. You are the problem. But
He said, I gotta
that's that demon on you. Until you do right by Shine, that's that demon on you, and you ain't gonna never keep no man. You just gonna be a run through.
Shine is shining right now. I will say Shine is shining for sure. I
Mm-hmm.
love it.
Cool. And Shine voice was just everything too. Like he had the swag. He was at the peak. At the
Yeah.
peak. So before we move on, I did a summary of the agent's testimony that I felt like they were using him as to set the foundation
Yes.
of the start of this type of evidence that basically coordinates the involvement of the organized criminal conduct that is a part of RICO. The details of potential violations when we're talking about the things that he was in possession of that violate the federal RICO statute. Now, like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg because this is just the foundational person. They have more people that has to come in order to add to their why and their elements and the evidence to satisfy the burden that they have to ultimately meet so that they can find him guilty based off of what they want the jury to do.
Yeah.
So that was Gannon. He was great. The defense didn't really have nothing to add on him. Oh, but that was ready for Miss Dunn.
Oh yeah, they had to be.
That was ready for Miss Dunn because Miss Dunn, what we know as individuals who are in the legal profession, that when you hire an expert, you have to verify other trials that they have been on or testify to. All of that has to be turned over to whether it's civil or whether it's criminal, whatever, that has to be turned over, because you do have certain experts that I don't think is qualified to be out here going on anybody's record, but they do it because of the money.
Mm-hmm. And they're expensive.
Yes. And what's crazy, she has been an expert for Brian Steele. She was an expert on the Johnny Depp case with the girl.
Those things are important. I hope the people understand why.
Yeah. Who else? Who else was she an? Oh, she was an expert on the Weinstein. She was an expert in the R. Kelly case. So it's not a surprise that the federal government would use her in a case like Cassie. Well, I mean, with victims like Cassie and other individuals who have been victimized. So that's what her main objective, and their main objective and goal was to bring her to this particular case. So some of another thing, because they did bring this up, that's why I took a note on it. There are things as blind experts. And people are like, what's a blind expert? This is somebody that has never had any interaction with the actual victim. So they don't get to testify to this person's actual mental state. Mm-hmm. They only get to use the documentation of what they read, what they have been asked to assess, in order for them to come in and testify based on a general assessment, not an actual assessment, an individual assessment. Yeah. So that is the reason why defense would not allow them to make it about the particular individual, because when you go into that line, and if they don't address it, then that's on them. But they surely was objecting, because they felt like she was going down it. She did. She said, I forgot what she said, but she did get a little close. She got right there. And they said, Do you remember what the question was?
I can't remember the exact question, but I think as far as the defense, goes, they don't want, because again, they are trying to persuade or at least show the jury, right? We can have our ideas, the judge can have his ideas of what's being shown, but anytime the expert or any person testifying on a witness stand is getting closer to the mental, the actual psyche of the victim, which there would be, I think it was something about like, it was more so about like them asking her if she had evaluate, I forget what it was exactly, but basically she was saying like she evaluated perpetrators, right? She only shows or evaluates victims, right? And this is like victim behavior, because and I always said from the start of this, and I've been pretty neutral on both sides, but I felt that yes, Cassie was a star witness, but a lot of the government's the government's job here is really to show how Cassie was a victim. And the way in which they do that is through expert testimony like this, right? Through psychologists, through psychiatrists, through people who are able to get to the psyche of how victims are, how victims respond, how victims show, themselves in a situation. Again, Cassie was very young, very moldable, very about a kid, a toddler, someone who is impressionable, right? How they can be manipulated into certain behaviors, into, okay, this is what I need to do to please. This is how the ordinary person would, like, they may not actually know. She may not have had another relationship prior to this, relationship. And again, she's in a relationship with a mogul. So it's like, these are the things that I have to do in order to please who I'm with, right? You are trusting, you are then naive, you're then very oblivious to, certain situations. So the way that you show and she was a strong witness already because she gave so much grueling, testimony to her
Mhm.
experience of life day to day with him. But the way that you tied that together, right, for her testimony to make sense in the psyche, you
Yeah.
use experts like Dawn, and
Yeah.
Dawn else. So I think that that's why the defense was so ready to come after her.
Yeah, she was really convincing. She was really compelling because she went through the stages that she uses in her practice to determine um the effects of the trauma that victims endure at the hands of their abuser. So she went over trauma bonding. I think
Mm-hmm.
we can all agree that these two individuals were trauma bonding. Cassie didn't walk into this traumatized. She got introduced to the trauma because of someone inflicting not only their own trauma, but new trauma to her. And that resulted in trauma bonding. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how people typically stay in unhealthy relationships, is because now y'all have formed this bond and now y'all feel comfortable and safe to maintain this level of trauma that both of y'all are exuding at the same time. So,
Codependency.
yeah, codependency. And it usually starts with a dominant person coercing a non dominant person into the behaviors that they want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how that trauma starts to grow for that non dominant person.
They make it
And
seem normal.
mm-hmm, and it's not normal. It's not normal. And people don't even pick up on the fact that they are trauma bonding. They don't until they go and seek therapy. So that is one of the elements. Then two is the delayed disclosure, i.e., Cassie not telling her mother or telling anyone
Yeah.
until it got so bad that she lost relationships because she had stayed in it and delayed disclosure. Like that's even the point where she didn't even tell the police. She wouldn't give them any information, and she was protecting them at the Intercontinental when she said that she made sure that no one was going to say anything. That is a hard reality for victims. That is very hard because do they want to tell someone? Absolutely. But like Princess said, is the fear of being judged.
Right.
And you talking about a mogul, someone that has all this power and influence, and they have really wired your brain to make you believe that no one will come to your rescue.
Yeah.
That's scary.
It's sad. It's very sad.
The
I
coping mechanism. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, no, I was gonna say I hate, the fact that, because I try to view this on both sides in the sense that I do think when it came down to Cassie, and I don't know, we haven't talked about it, but like when it came down to Cassie's testimony, her testimony was very strong. Like it was a witness she gave one firsthand accounts to a lot of what the government is trying to prove, all these small crimes, all these things that does show what they're trying to have presented. But it's so shameful to hear and see how she's been discredited, right? In a sense, kind of tried to lean in and do a good job at discrediting her in the fact that she did participate in these things and she did, say certain things and she did text certain things and not everybody understanding. And again, we're focusing on these jurors, right? We have 12 jurors to really convince here. They don't understand until we have Dawn, right? We have these psychologists coming in, but they don't understand how these things really come into
Yeah.
play to show that like there's such an emotional like turmoil that victims face, and then you're talking about a trafficking type of case, right? Think about just the general, I put it like this, even the general like pimp hoe, right? And I'm sorry to say it so bluntly, but like, even just like, this my pimp. I'm out here doing what I need to do to make this money to please my, person that I'm going back to every night. Like, even just that psychologically is a very whole thing, but it's something where it's like if it comes down to you on that corner and say, yo, get off this corner, they're like not gonna do that, and they're gonna say like, nah, daddy, I'm gonna go out here and make this money. I ain't made payout yet.
Yeah.
I know how much I need to bring back to you. It's like those simple
Yeah.
things. It's like the psyche goes through, and it's like for them to make her feel like because she said or shared certain things and
Yeah.
found enjoyment, just to have normalcy in the things that made this a thing. I just hate to see
Hmm.
it. But,
Yeah. That
still coping is nuts.
that is that's the reality for a lot of victims. And when she went into the coping mechanism and how people use substance, like she says, substance abuse is one of the indications that someone is trying to cope with
Sure.
the trauma. So when Cassie testified that she just wanted to feel numb. She didn't want to feel anything. And her taking the ketamine so that she could really zone out. And that was something he didn't like. But to hear somebody, and you got to imagine, we have 365 days in the year. And to know that this girl would rather dope herself up every day to face her reality. And it went on for years and years and years. That is a hard thing. That's unimaginable. That is so scary. The fact that she's alive is a miracle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I love her husband's statement, and just saying like you didn't break her, right? Like you thought you were doing things to really make her feel abused. You did things that make her feel in your control. Like she found a light on the other side of that, and you didn't break her. And now
Yeah.
she's still whole, right? With me,
Yeah.
with our family, with where life is for her right now. And I just love the fact that she doesn't feel shame. Well, I don't know what she feels, but at least you know he shows that like he's not shameful of her and that
Yeah.
she did. And I love this comment here, right? Cassie saved Cassie. Like she found her way out of it, and she
Yeah.
was able to find that light, and she was able to find someone to love her through it and beyond it. So I just love to see where she is in the
Yeah.
midst of that.
DeMarcus made a good comment, a statement. Men didn't speak out against Diddy, so of course Cassie didn't. And I think people don't care about that aspect
Yeah,
because the objective is always to blame the victim,
always. Watch you say.
not the people around him, like the James Cruises, like the D Rocks, like the Roger Buns, like the KKs, like the Lorianne Gibsons.
Yeah. And I think that this has been like an interesting pondering thing as so I just recently joined a board for survivors.org, which is a domestic violence, but just a survivors, group overall for any type of abuse and survivorship. And, just studying the mental so many people who are in spaces, but not only people who are in the situations, but the onlookers of these situations. And one, not many people understand or see that abuse is taking place, right? Like if you look at Diddy and Cassie's, history of their relationship, like they still showed up on red carpets, they looked amazing together. They showed up at gatherings, they looked amazing. So to the public eye, right, like you still see each other as like these mogul power type couple relationships. It was only the moments that we knew how Diddy was and who he was that we would know that it could be another veiling behind, the cloak. And that's the biggest thing. But then it's to those who were around or so close to the circle to see and be an onlooker of the abuse and of the violence that she endured. One, they may not have known to the extent that she was experiencing it, and that's something to important to note. But then two, sometimes they know, and people be like, "It ain't my business. Let me stay out of it," because everybody goes through something.
Yeah.
And you just never know what that something is fully. And I think that that's where like our level of empathy comes in and our level of understanding comes in to know that like one physical normal, and let's not normalize what that becomes what it is, even through the provocation of the build up and what potentially leads to it. But it's just being very thoughtful and understanding, like let's be empathetic to like what this person's been enduring for however long, we don't even know, to understand that like this just isn't normal. It's
I,
traumatizing.
I agree. And I appreciate comments like Teresa, that thank you for bringing um, the show tonight. I believe that your analysis that you give will help a lot of people to understand what these victims have endured instead of just seeing the surface. And I agree. And that's why the why behind this particular platform is to bring awareness, because I see the disparity in how people view the law and the reality.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to merge because people believe opinions over reality.
Yeah.
So, being able, especially in such an extensive type of case, to bring and shed light on and try to simplify how enormous this is and bring it to the forefront so people can really understand, and they don't have to have the terminology of what doctors do to you
Yeah.
and what freaking lawyers that up in the ass do, because they want to bring big words when all it takes is you bringing it down to the reality so that people can understand. And that's how you make change, and that's how people do better, and that's how people recognize when certain things happen, I got to move on. Like I cannot stay in this. And I said this on Monday. I said, I know my friends would have said to me, either we fight you or we fight him.
Pulling up.
You, we going to fight him. We going, because yeah. But everybody, the thing with Cassie, the late disclosures that precluded people from really helping her because of the fear of being judged, because of the power complex. And she talked about the power complex that a lot of people don't even equate, because that power and control, that's how we have so many domestic violence um, occurrences. That's how we have so many people that get unalived because of the power and control. That's why it's a miracle that she is alive, because with the psychological, she talked about the power and control. She also went into the financial dependence. And I know I heard testimony from Cassie of how he controlled her music career. He controlled where she lived. He would take the car away. He would kick her off a fucking boat and leave her stranded.
Yeah. Different countries. And I think that again, this is so important to know when you're dealing with someone who one has money. Think about the age dynamic, the difference in how old he was versus how old she was. But then just the power dynamic and the financial stability of it all. You're leaving me in different countries. You're willing to be mad for any reason. You're ballistic in whatever ways. And then now I'm fearful because I already know what's to be on the other side of whatever it is that's angering me. I don't know
Yeah.
how to have my health insurance. I don't know how I'm going to
Mhm.
pay at this point. I don't know how. I mean, just a list of things she probably just did not even know how to do as an 18-year-old that he's been over for however many years to the point where she left. But like, you have to think about it. Like, she was young, like
Very.
very young. Like, I can think about myself at 18, and I'm sure we all can. There were so many things we were probably relying on parents, someone else who was older or able to guide us. So I'm sure she leaned in on a person she was in a
Yep.
relationship with, who she loved, to really lead. And baby, I got you. I got this. I got that. I got you on this. I got an allowance. I got an apartment. I have a car. I have a phone. I have health insurance. I have, there's so many things he probably provided for her, which she endured more of, because what else am I going to do?
Yeah. The 9 record deal kept her handicapped. He made her mama give him $20,000.
Now, that's crazy to me. That was actually pretty crazy to me to hear and see that she took out a equity on her home,
To
out of her
protect her
home,
baby.
just to wire to protect your baby from a billionaire. $20,000. I'm like, wait a minute, 20,000. I'm sure he sees $20,000 leave his account probably within an hour, maybe even less. So for him to even make her do that was wild to me. It seems like he sent the money back, which is another power dynamic. That's another power dynamic for people who don't understand. He literally made her take out an equity home line credit to give him $20,000 for whatever reason, to then send it back 4 days later. That's wild to me. But it happened.
Oh my, it's getting worse and worse, y'all. And to conclude the testimony of Dr. Hughes, I believe that her testimony gave jurors a lens through which to understand the psychological complexities of the alleged victim's experiences, supporting the government's burden of establishing coercion, manipulation, entrapment, and control, core elements necessary to prove a charge of sex trafficking and racketeering under federal law. So that's what I mean. I agree. I think she hit it on the. I think she hit a home run with her testimony. The defense couldn't do anything that they would normally do today because the state lined their witnesses up so perfect with the elements that they needed to start establishing as they continue to prove their burden and carry the burden that they are required to carry. And when I say they hit a triple threat today, Mr. George Kaplan, baby.
Yeah.
George. I didn't even know George was a star witness. This man had Diddy putting his palms in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
When Diddy realized that man was there to take that immunity deal, they got a picture of Diddy like this.
Shook. Shook it. He know where the body's at.
Do he?
Hmm.
Do he know? Listen, first, let me explain what immunity is to the audience, because we talked about proffer offers yesterday, and that's a little bit different. That's where the government waits to see what you are going to say before they agree to the outcome that has been discussed. That means you have to proffer your testimony, and you have to be truthful, honest, and they at that moment say, okay, we're gonna hold up to the end of our deal. Immunity is totally different.
Oh,
Once you get immunity, they are precluded from bringing any kind of charges related to the case that you are testifying for. And people only get immunity when they have contributed to some part of a crime that is illegal. And that is basically what he provided today. So just to give y'all the black letter definition or our understanding, immunity is when the government grants immunity to secure, in this case, his full truthful testimony without fear of self-incrimination. Immunity is a legal agreement that protects a witness from prosecution for crimes they admit to while cooperating with the government. And in this case, the assistant admitted to transporting drugs and participating in cover ups that could constitute criminal offenses. Immunity is often used when a witness has inside knowledge of and is critical to building a larger case against a more significant target. And in this instance would be Sean Diddy Combs. So by entering into this entering this witness into this type of agreement, he cannot be prosecuted for their own actions that constituted crimes within the facilitation of what they were doing for their bigger target. So basically, he free, and he gonna stay free. Unless otherwise, he would have got a RICO charge.
yeah. He basically
So
saying, "Yo, I know I did some things. I probably contributed to the exact things that y'all are prosecuting him for. In order to get my account for what's taking place, don't come after me."
mm-hmm.
And that's basically what they said. They will give because they want the big dog. They want the head honcho, and that's Diddy. And although he assisted, he was not the kingpin of orchestrating these things. So he was just a helper. He was a worker. He was doing his job,
Yep.
for Diddy. So um, important stuff. He definitely would be the next person to say all of the accounts of what took place. And I think he did a good job on the stand today.
Yeah, he did. And he's not even done.
He's not done. He'll be back.
This was probably 20 minutes of
Yeah.
what is going to be even longer. So just to give y'all overview, if you did not get to catch his testimony or any cliff notes, George Kaplan was one of his roles was the chief executive assistant to at first the COO, and within 10 months he was promoted to being the executive assistant to Sean Combs. Now, I think this is ridiculous. He made over 120K a year. He worked over 80 to 100 hours a week. Who the fuck do you think finna work 80 to 100 hours?
For that,
But they said when you look back at 2013, that was not in New York. Stop it. Stop it. Stop the lies. So he was also he reported directly to KK, and baby, he kept throwing. KK was the pavement of the street today, the way that bus was rolling over her. And let me tell you something about KK. If your raggedy ass ain't snitching, you are on the chopping block. Because I guarantee you, because Cassie testified to KK, KK is the worst kind of woman that you want to be associated with, because she set her ass in that position and watched how Diddy did woman after woman after fucking woman. So if she does not decide to testify, you deserve everything that is coming your way. And I don't want to hear no fucking excuse that you were a victim because you had an opportunity. So if you're not a surprise witness,
yeah, I
you're gonna
think
be a
that's the bigger point, right? Because like, and I mean, I've seen a lot of like confusion on like, oh, why is Cassie testifying? You know, she had her payout. She should not be able. This is a federal case. He doesn't have the opportunity to decide whether to testify or not. She's subpoenaed to testify, forced to testify in a sense. Now, when we're talking about KK, if they subpoena KK and she comes as a surprise witness, she could say, you know what, Diddy, I'm gonna hold you down. I'm gonna plead the fifth, right? We hear about plead the fifth all the time. Plead the fifth is basically she's gonna decide not to answer. She's gonna lean on her Fifth Amendment right, and she's not going to assist or help the government bring charges or have more testimony or evidence against Diddy. But if she does decide to come up and at least give a accurate account of her experiences, that could be huge for the case, for sure.
if y'all know KK, send KK this. If you don't testify, we don't care what happened to you. Because we riding at dawn about Cassie, and you set your ass over there for all them years and watch her get tormented. You probably facilitated, because what George said, she pretty much scheduled everything for him. She did everything for Diddy. So you knew, and if you don't bring your ass forward, you're going to have hell to pay when you got to answer to the only one that's going to take care of you and for what you did. So George, he testified. Oh my God, it crazy. So George talked about how he was responsible for booking hotels within Miami, LA, in New York. And he would only book at certain hotels in LA. It was the Intercontinental, Miami, what is it, SNL or SLS? Whichever one that, did I put it down? It was one of the popular hotels there. And New York, it was the Trump Hotel. So these were the only three places that they were booked with when they was in these particular cities. He was responsible for making sure his bag was together, which included making sure certain drugs was in there. Baby oil, ketamine, Astroglide. He had to make sure candles, like he would have to go and do a whole sweep of the room to set the room up. And he would clean the room up afterwards. And they asked him why, because the hotel has cleaning staff, why would you go and clean up? He said that because he would go and check the room and there would be residue of cocaine, what appears to be cocaine. Of course, the room would be a mess. And he knew how hotels would take pictures of rooms and then put the people on blast. So he was doing everything in his power to protect his image, to keep things like this from coming out. Like, you was a ride or fucking die. Because that would have probably been how I would have got his ass when I left. I would have been like, I would have left the room how it was and then called the paps. Y'all want to see how Diddy get the fuck down? Come to this room.
But the thing is,
I would got his ass.
I think about it and I'm like, for one, for 80 to 100-hour weeks for $125,000 is actually insane. And I wonder if they were just high, like they were high on like the access, the ability of being around this mogul that they're probably willing to do whatever it was to serve him. But then I think about like even if they did see this stuff and they saw the hotel rooms at the end of the day, I don't know how they didn't have third party teams coming in to clean up because there's no way as an assistant I'm going in and I'm cleaning up stuff they described being in these hotel rooms. It just seems beyond, definitely beyond me. But even if they did, I don't know if they would have fully understood the way or what took place behind those doors. You know, like I don't know if they would have fully understood like what those videos are showing the jurors that was happening during these freakouts. Like I don't think anybody, even our imagination right now, isn't really showing exactly probably what was taking place.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like
It the amount of information that George had, George talked about how Diddy would make him pay to go and pick up his drugs. And he knew the drug man in LA, he knew the drug man in Miami. So he would go and secure the drugs and bring them back to Diddy. The fuck?
crazy. Crazy.
What?
They already knew. They knew who to contact before. They knew what it was a starter kit. It was a we going to Miami, we had a Miami starter kit. We in LA, we know what LA about to give. They just knew what to have laid out. They knew we needed a lot of baby oil. They knew we needed the astro gel. They knew we needed the ketamine. They knew we needed the ecstasy. Let me have it laid out in a hotel room. I mean, think about it. These are not normal hotel rooms, by the way. Like these are probably multi-room, penthouse suite, presidential type status, like multiple room type hotel rooms. Very easy to have set up.
So they asked him like, what possessed you to do that? And he was like, Diddy made him believe that he trusted him. And Diddy would, you know how Diddy would play with people's emotion and make it seem like, I trust you, like I can, you my right hand man, like I can't trust nobody else. Like so he felt a sense of loyalty to Diddy because of the game he played up here. So he like he confirmed like why he would clean up the rooms, why he would prepare things. He was in charge of cooking. Like just every single thing. Like this man knew what the fuck he was doing. He confirmed the elements of transporting drugs across state lines.
Important. Important.
Personal, not like, and that's why when people was like, well, this case don't make sense because it's a slow cooker.
Brick by brick. I've been saying it the whole time. You have to realize the prosecution's job right now is to build a house that you see, right? Like they've laid the foundation. Now they're brick by brick layering. Each thing, each element is being met. Each thing is coming in and showing that this is the case. This house that they're building right now is the case that we're presenting in front of the jury. And they have to show that brick by brick by brick by brick. And that's exactly what was done. That's exactly what they're continuing to do. And I'd say even in the enterprise piece, and I think that this is important only, especially to what you just said, you know, role and responsibilities that one, Cassie being a fine artist to Bad Boy, and Bad Boy being the enterprise that they clearly are going after and saying, you have to realize they are showing not only are you using your artists, you're using your assistants, you're using your security guards, you're using people who are employed and actually there to assist the company to really do these illegal things on your behalf, i.e., buying drugs, transporting drugs, doing all these other illegal things that they were needing to be done in order to make the free golf take place. So I think that's super important.
That's also, I forgot to mention, George would book these rooms under Frank Black, which Biggie's alias was Frank White.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, what the fuck?
Think about how far back that goes.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And somebody said, sounds like a Rico to me. Sounds like a Rico to me too. Sounds like a Rico to me too. I heard, hold on.
I'll say this while you pull that one up. It's crazy how clear, even to you, it sounds like a Rico and anyone who's listening. The thing that makes me so skeptical on what this is and how it's being defended, we've seen so many times on debt. We've seen so many times where it could be clear as day. It sounds, shows, it looks like a duck. It's quacking like a duck. It's yellow like a duck. Everything is a duck, right?
Jury
And
say.
and you still find, because again, this is all unanimous, right? Like you have to present this in a way where all 12 jurors, right, they all unanimously show and see that this case is a RICO. And this
Yep.
case is clearly what the prosecution is wanting
Yeah.
it to be. That's to find him guilty on these charges. And I hear it all the time. I've been talking about it with different people. I've been seeing different opinions, and it really is similar to some of the people in the comments saying like, I don't know if I've seen evidence of it being a RICO, and that's the question. Honestly, is this a RICO? But it kinda is a RICO in many ways, But we really need to see how the jury is going to come down to the jury. It's going to come down to what they feel.
Listen. Oh, I wanted to, because we're talking about the jury, this is something I wanted to make a quick soundbite on. Y'all got to start showing up to jury selection, and y'all got to stop trying to get off of the jury. When we're talking about the makeup of the jury and it's not diverse, that is because we don't show up, and when we do, we lie to get off of the jury. So we don't get to dictate the outcome. We don't get to equalize the criminal justice system. So we don't get to complain. This is why you show up to jury selection. This is why you don't lie to get off. Because when you do, someone may be on the verge of being wrongfully convicted for having the wrong people on the jury and having the wrong prosecutor trying the case. Jurors have the power to save someone's life. But you lose that power and that ability when you don't show up to participate. And the fact that our ancestors died for us to have this privilege, we don't have an excuse as to why we're not showing up to jury selection. So that's my little tad bit on that. I had to say that because
No, that's a great point, and I don't think that people understand the power as you speak of a jury. Like I don't think people even get like, because most trials they probably don't think that like, oh yeah, we went to jury, we had jury duty. It probably didn't lead to a trial where they have to go in deliberation and really come up with some sort of finding. But it is really important, and it does hold a lot of power because it is a constitute. Like that's really what we are. That's our protection in a sense, right? Like the jury is our protection in these, especially criminal cases, for us to be judged based off of what's presented, but by right members of our community, members of the jury, members who are going to see things neutrally in a sense, right? They're going to be able to judge these things from the moral purpose of like what it is that we are wanting to have our bases in our lives judged off. We really need to lean in on that a little bit more. Citizenship, right? We taught citizenship in grade school.
Yeah. Like I would rather, when I was a prosecutor, I would appreciate someone finding an individual not guilty if they look like us because they decided to exercise their right and their duty to show up to jury selection. I wouldn't care if I felt like the case was a slam dunk. The slam dunk is when we show up to jury selection and hold prosecutors to their burden.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I appreciated more than when they don't show up and when a non-diverse jury finds an individual guilty because somebody was able to get on a jury that may be a racist. That's I and that's just how it is. That's just how it is. So I'm going to save this particular breakdown for George's testimony for tomorrow because he's not done. So because
Yeah.
he's not done, I want to give y'all the full piece of the full leg of the thigh. Like I'm gonna give y'all a thigh tomorrow so that y'all can judge the credibility of his testimony as a whole because we're only on the appetizer. I feel like George is about to give us the full course with the dessert, with a side of Hennessy,
Hmm.
and a to-go plate. That's what I feel like he's giving us tomorrow. With Kid Cudi on standby.
That's another big one.
So,
Another big one.
ladies and gentlemen, make sure you are liking and subscribing and following Real Life Street Stars and also visiting their merch store for their latest gear that they have. And it's almost summertime. We got a couple of more weeks. Y'all better go get that gear for the summertime. And just like the introduction, I am attorney Thelma Anderson. My business consulting firm is the BYOB firm, where we handle all things business. Also, you can follow me on my personal social media at Loria Bay ESQ or my YouTube channel, The Public Opinion Court, as well as my TikTok. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pass it over to my co-host so that he can share where you can follow him and we can close this thing out.
Absolutely. It was such a pleasure to be here with you all. I hope you all took something valuable away from the analysis that we've given. We're happy to make it very understandable for anyone who doesn't understand the complexities of the law. You can find me on all social media platforms at Attorney McLeod. That's Attorney McLeod as it's spelled on the screen. Or you can visit my law firm's website at thelegalsniper.com. You can follow my personal page, Attorney McLeod, or my law firm's page at thelegal.sniper, where we bring precision and power and all the things we hit in the target every time. Glad to be here. Happy to return any moment. I hope you all enjoy it today.
Yeah, so we're going to have some more pop-ins with Attorney McLeod. You know, he be jet setting all over the world. He out here living his best life since leaving Big Law, which you should. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your consistency. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your vibes. Invite a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend that we meet here for the duration of the Freaky RICO trial every night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And tomorrow I may hit y'all with a surprise of what we're trying to do to see, if y'all can vote on it for us, because it's gonna turn up the content and the breakdowns of this case. So I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow, same place, same time. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have an amazing night. Make sure before you leave, like, subscribe, and follow.